Hello, welcome back to another episode of Mac and D. As always, I'm joined by James Drake London. How you doing, James?
I am doing well. I am sick of our slow draft being the slowest slow draft that's ever been drafted.
It's really starting to grind my gears a little bit. It's like I want to get the top guys. I want to get my stars. If we're going to do some deep cut research on the back end, I'm fine with it. But there's absolutely no reason for what's happening right now. It'd be illegal in 35 countries, probably 49 cities. 55 states. It's actually kind of bad. I'm pretty tired of it. Are you
It's
popping
been
like
the
some? Are you pop?
I was opening mail and then
Okay.
just getting it out of my way. Yeah,
At some point, you gotta multitask, man. There's nothing wrong with that. What's the most annoying multitasking thing that people do in your opinion?
I think it's either walking or driving while taking a meeting. I would
Hmm.
say if you're not an active participant, that's okay. If you're talking the whole time and all I can hear is like, it's like, dude, please, like, it's your job. Can you please take this a little serious?
Yeah. If you're just listening, it's completely fine. Totally agree. My biggest qualm is also an office thing. When people clip their nails in the office, it's like, dude, you have time to do that at home. There's no reason for you to do that at the office.
I don't think I've ever seen that. If I did, though, I would immediately just be like, get out,
Yeah,
fired immediately.
it was like an internship I had like years ago sort of thing for me, but it's like this is nasty. Um, Getting into the recent news, there's a few big things that have been going on. Oddly enough, we're talking a ton about commanders nowadays. And it's right off the bat. I think the weirdest thing, and we'll start with the craziest one, is the Brian Robinson trade rumors. This feels like it came very out of left field. You don't really often see an underpaid, a underdrafted third round rookie still on his rookie contract have this kind of qualms with his team right off of coming off of an awesome all-time Commander season. What is going on with this Brian Robinson Jr. trade rumors?
But there has to be something underneath the surface to just have a young guy, rookie contract. Like, we don't want to cut him, but we will. It's so, oh, Mac, your internet, buddy. What's going on?
It's the obligatory blip. It has to happen. Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that they're saying, hey, we will cut you or trade you for sure, rather than just like trying to get fair value for him is kind of insane. Do you think that Brian Robinson's kind of overrated at this point, or is he like, or is there something that we're not seeing in his game, or has it got to be the off the field stuff like you were alluding to?
I'm not sure. I mean, he was a little banged up last year, but that just kind of happens, right? For big burly backs, like back-to-back 800-yard seasons, not incredible, but not bad. When Brian was healthy, it was big games. He just missed maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Maybe I don't know. Maybe his ankle injury is lingering. To your point, though, I want no one to listen to this podcast until like all of our drafts are over because I want people to overdraft Brian Robinson while you can kind of maybe get Eckler or someone else for much cheaper.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. And that B Rob's a guy you and I both love, but both of our teams are going to have zero shares of him this year, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It feels like it's a bit of a bust to be able to draft him almost immediately because wherever he's going, he's probably not going to be the feature guy. Everywhere else is already kind of set when it comes to running backs. Obviously, running backs are a little bit more plug and play than maybe some of the other positions. You know, Kareem Hunt kind of joined the Chiefs pretty late into the season. He was still thrived. It's totally possible. But yeah, I mean, it's really strange. And if you're the Commanders and you're maybe over invested in the running back position, maybe you scale it back a little bit, right? Like if you had a ton of money and a couple of guys, then maybe we just need to overcorrect a little bit. But they have like 4 million into Austin Eckler. They got like Jeremy McNichols still back there just kind of hanging out. And then you have, of course, the starter, Brian Robinson, who's making nothing on his rookie scale deal. So it can't be necessarily the money. And maybe down the road, they're already kind of anticipating the fact that maybe he's going to ask for a lot. Maybe he's already asked for a ton, which at that point I would kind of understand because he's just a dude. He's just kind of a plodding guy. But I think he's shown enough flashes of being a super consistent guy, also a very good culture dude, that just to like actively try to push him out just weeks days before the season starts. It feels very Washington Commanders under in the Snyder era rather than in the current era. And it feels unnecessary. Maybe they're just really tired of the Donald Trump saying, "Hey, we should go back to the old name," and they're just trying to find a distraction to get away from that. It not good
He
vibes going on
probably
Washington right now.
probably called Dan Quinn a cracker. That
Totally
had to have
possible.
been what happened.
Totally possible. And then the other big thing that's going on with all these trade rumors is also with the Commanders on the offensive side of the ball with Terry McLaurin. He is wanting a trade out of Washington. What, unlike with Brian Robinson, right? Like Terry McLaurin actually has some like good trade value, right? Like there's some realistically cool teams that you could go to immediately. What would be an interesting Terry McLaurin destination in your mind?
New England Patriots. Welcome aboard, sir. I think New England makes sense. I think Green Bay makes sense to finally have a true de facto number one. Um, Maybe like even the Raiders, try to kind of really bolster the offensive side of the ball. He'd be a pretty big step up above Jacoby.
Hmm.
Um, his biggest issue is he's 29 and wants a big contract because kind of started to tease it out and you got busy at work today. Like he wants to be paid more than DK. DK is 27, right? Terry, you're 29. You're just approaching the wrong age to be a receiver in the modern NFL. I get why he wants the deal, right? This is his last bite at the apple, but he might be overplaying his hand just a little bit.
Yeah, it is funny. He just feels a little bit too over the hill potentially, even with how awesome he was last season. He had some great after the catch runs. He had some awesome contested catches. But that extra year or two doesn't make you feel good. And it kind of is like the thing where it's like maybe if you're an elite wide receiver prospect nowadays, you definitely don't go back for your senior year in college because it just kind of pushes you a little too far whenever you're up for that contract. Yeah, I love the destinations that you called out. I kind of like Seattle a little bit too. You get a third guy with Cooper Kupp and JSN. I think that could be kind of fun. And then the Chargers, they seem to be having injuries in spades and retirements in spades. Getting another guy next to Ladd, I think could be a really good complementary piece. And I think that there's realistically needing some downfield weapons for Justin Herbert to throw to in that offense right now if Jim
Unless
Harbaugh
they
decides to
believe
mix
in
it up.
Quentin Johnson, and his hands being just revived. But yeah, I like the Chargers too.
QJ just got carted off the other night in the preseason game. We don't really know the
Did
full
not
extent
see
of what
that.
his
My bad.
injuries are going to be. No, you're good. I mean, it just feels like every day there's something new going on with LA. So it's just crazy back and forth what's going on right out
Let's
there
look at
right
the
now.
flip side of this though, right? Like if you're the Commanders, you kind of have to pay Terry, right? All of your other receivers are gone from last year. Like you're relying on Debo to be my friend. Fix your internet.
I know, man. I'm calling Spectrum right after this. You have no idea. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I think you're 100% right on the McLaurin with Commanders relationship. It's really important, I think, for them to mend it because Debo as a number two receiver this year, I think is really exciting. But him as an absolute number one feels like an overextension in a lot of ways. And you have to capitalize on this good momentum if you're Washington, or else you're going to fall really, really far behind in that competitive NFC East. So weird choice to be able to be like that. And another weird choice too, going on in the recent news, Trey Hendrickson, right? They are literally drawing this out as long as they physically can. It feels like the Cincinnati Bengals are. And now it seems like he's very publicly, very, very much so demandingly asking for a trade right now. And I don't think Cincinnati can sustain a loss like Trey Hendrickson. That is like 90% of your pass rush value right there. All that production is coming via Trey Hendrickson or from the gravity that he's ultimately bringing. I feel like this might be the most devastating loss for any team if he ends up getting that trade or they end up trading him for picks. Where would you like to see Trey Hendrickson go at this point?
Would he make sense as a Bill? Like, is that the kind of team? I don't think if you're the Bengals, you trade him in the AFC, but the Bills, I think just didn't really have a great pass rush last year. They bring on Bosa. They just need maybe a bit of a rotation if they're going to have older guys at that spot. But that seems like one that could really help them out immediately.
Yeah, I kind of like it. If you're the Bills and you see the upstart Bengals a little bit, you're like, hey, let's poach it from one of our bigger rivals that we have going on in the AFC at this point. At least one of the biggest threats for us to be able to make the Super Bowl for sure. And that's funny because that's exactly where my mind also went was to go to a threat. What if he goes to the Chiefs? Like, what if the Chiefs are just like, heck it, Chris Jones getting a little bit older. What if we just go all in on defense? They just gave a giant extension to Karlaftis. What if they just keep going deeper in and they're like, hey, we fell a little bit short last year. What if we're able to get after that quarterback a little bit more, put a little bit more pressure on a Jalen Hurts or whoever ends up making it on the NFC side, and they just go all in and kind of take advantage of a tough situation for the Cincinnati Bengals. I feel like a lot of Chiefs fans would be very happy if they went all the way in on Trey
Yeah,
Hendrickson.
Chiefs fans would lose their mind. I don't think the Bengals can do it, right? You've had your shit talking spats with the Chiefs. You can't make them better and then expect good things to happen.
It would be very funny. James, have you been tracking the Bill Krosky merit hype?
Yeah, I'm trying to not mention it because I want to start drafting him everywhere.
Fair. He's the guy who's getting all the hype post the Brian Robinson stuff right
Correct.
now.
Yeah. The Austin Eckler was the red herring. I want JCM so bad.
It's interesting.
Or
He's
RCM. It's RCM, right? Robert something Merritt.
he prefers Bill apparently.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I don't know a ton about him outside of he didn't do a whole lot in college. He went to a no name, is like Alabama State or Alcorn State or something like that. He's a yellow jacket. Um,
He
and
looked
was
really good with the ones on Monday night.
He looked really good, had a couple of good scat runs behind some really good offensive line push. It feels like just the scheme is really right in Washington to allow running backs to succeed. I have a hard time with this guy personally. Like, he's fun, don't get me wrong. Average like 4 yards per carry his senior year as a 24-year-old senior, mind you. Get a job. And I struggle a little bit with the ultimate valuation. If you're taking him in your last round, sure, that's kind of where he's going right now, but his ADP is slowly but surely going through the roof. I'm very curious. I if I had to lie in the sand, had to make a call, I outside of taking him the last pick, I think is an absolute reach, and I think he's just going to be an okay player this year. Do you think he's going to be something a little bit more?
I'll believe the hype, especially because it's just hard to find that RB upside. I think people don't know who he is. So to your point, you're getting him late. But like, are you going to take a shot on a Darnell Mooney, or would you rather have RCM? Like, I mean, like I'm getting to the point. Like, at a certain point in the draft, you're going for guys that can win the league, and there's just some dudes on here that are like, been there, done that. We've seen this before. I don't need to read this book one more time. I'll go ahead and go for that sexy pick of someone like that, or
Totally
like
agree.
Nick Chubb. We've hyped Nick Chubb before, but then like now more news is coming out. Like, is his knee even really there? We don't know. That Houston backfield sounding more and more abysmal by the day. Where again, somehow Damian Pierce can't buy a touch with the starters, but there's
Yeah.
no one to like split the workload with. It's confusing, right?
Yeah.
Like
The
Tajay Spears, do you want him? Do you want like a Ray Davis? I know you kind of do, but
the Mooney call out is so great. If you're going for a guy over Bill Merritt, like that is a guaranteed 8 points, but like nothing more, nothing less. There's no point in drafting that guy. Just go get the potential high flyer. But if you have other good, fun flyers like Ray Davis on the board, I'd rather go for someone who has done something, right? Ray Davis last year had 400 rushing yards. That was pretty much Bill Krosky Merritt's career high in college. Like, don't get me wrong, the intangibles are there. The skill level could be there and the scheme could be there, but I'm not sure the talent is necessarily there. So we will have to see.
let's think of a vet. Are you gonna take a DeAndre Hopkins over him?
No,
Like
no.
that's the kind of guys and here it's like at some point I'm not taking Cedric Tillman, right? If I'm in the 180s and somehow he's still there, I'm like, cool. I'm gonna just go get this dude.
Yeah, point taken. Point taken. 100%. I'm just willing to put and it's not a huge bet, right? I'm just willing to say, like, he's not worth my fab. He's not worth
I
anything crazy
need
right now.
another Bucky. I want this man to be Bucky.
Quit trying to make Bucky happen. It ain't happening. No, I love it. And then your shout on Nick Chubb, I think, is a really great segue into our rapid fire NFL awards. So we are going through all of the major award groups for this upcoming season and making some predictions. We'll start with the position where Nick Chubb is actually surprisingly good odds for the award, Comeback Player of the Year. Who are you feeling?
I like a comeback player that's under the age of 30. That's an Aiden Hutchinson. He's had so much time to get healthy. It feels like he could just go on a tear here and just run away with this award.
Totally agree. And it feels like Nick Chubb's knee is literally hanging on like that pulled pork, whenever it's just falling off the bone. That's pretty much all the ligaments that's going on in Nick Chubb's knee right now. I also went Aiden Hutchinson here. Not my favorite player, as has been recorded history, but the stats don't lie. Dude was on an unreal pace on pressures last year until getting hurt. If he's able to sustain that for an entire season, he would be amazing and easy shoe in for the position for this award. On top of the fact that the pressures he put up in whatever games he played last year, 4, 6 games, whatever it was, that was enough to sustain him for an entire season. It would have been a pretty impressive season just in and of itself, right there on his per snap basis. It's pretty dang cool, man. Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute dog right now. Going to Offensive Lineman of the Year. This is a new award. I wish that they instituted this decades ago because, I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's hard to judge an offensive line play in a given year. It's really, really crazy year over year for some position groups as well. But like we know who the guys are, right? Like every year it feels like there's one dude that just has an absolute awesome season where they give up like 0 sacks, like single digit pressures. Trent Williams would win this award like a million times over the last decade, right? But I love that they did it. Later is good enough, right? Like it would have been better if it was a little bit better, a little bit earlier in the NFL canon history. But I love that they finally have an award for the big uglies up front.
Yeah. So my heart says Will Campbell because I want it to be true, but I think you got to lean into Penei Sewell. It just he's playing at a different level. It feels like than any other offensive lineman, and it's just because the combo of pass and run block, right? There's probably better pass blockers, a few, not a ton out there. There's not a better run blocking left tackle. You put the two together, and Penei just, I mean, he's like the offensive lineman you want
Yeah, and I think that's a great call out. I think there's a decent chance that Sewell plays a good amount of left tackle. Taylor Decker is just phantomly hurt right now, our regular left tackle. Sewell could definitely get some reps over on the other side. I think it would make a lot of sense. I think the thing that might hurt him is if he does play law right tackle, we just naturally, whatever stupid ass reason, just de-escalate that. We just don't care about it as much. There's a devaluing of right tackles versus left for the handedness of the quarterback. Whatever. Sewell's still my pick. I think he's transcendent. I love that we got the best prospect at that position in that draft, and it's just been paying dividends. It was the smart pick at the time, and it's really worked out. Love Penei Sewell for sure. Coach of the year.
I just wanted to mix it up. So and there's going to be a theme here, but I was like, you know what? This is a team that's primed. If they kind of figure out a couple positions, I think they could make some noise because the Chiefs are just going to be on an emotional letdown potentially. That's what my heart wants. I'm hoping they're on a bit of emotional letdown after not getting the three-peat done. Jim Harbaugh, if this team wins 12, 13 games, and that's not outside the realm of possibility other than the curse of being on the Chargers. Marion Hampton just balls out. Najee opens his eye and starts playing a little bit better. Herbert just does Herbert things. This team could be pretty damn good. If out of nowhere they win a couple playoff games, like Harbaugh could easily, they could be like, sweet, this guy, turns chicken shit into chicken salad. He's the guy, Rick, or coach of the year one more time.
I love this call out. I love this thing because, like, yeah, there is very low expectations, I feel like, on the Chargers with how competitive their division potentially could be. And I love the Super Bowl hangover call because I had the exact same thought, but on the opposite end. And I also thought that, hey, on the coach of the year side, it's going to be a bit of a surprise team. And it's also tipping my cap to the rest of the episode a little bit. And I went with Jonathan Gannon. I don't think he's all that great of a coach, but I think the Cardinals are going to win a lot of games this year. I think, spoiler alert, they're going to win the NFC West this upcoming season, have very much so improved the overall roster quality. And I think just by him just randomly lucking into a good team, right place, right time, Jonathan Gannon's going to win a lot of games and potentially win this award. Would not shock me to see him fired in a couple of years, though, which is also a Coach of the Year theme. So it would be very, very telling. Next up, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, you picked the guy that's the most likely, so I picked the guy with the best name, Jihad Campbell. I like the fact that he's stepping into an already good defense that kind of frees him up to make big splashy plays and get some of those counting stats that give you a shot at being the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, it feels like every year there's a rookie for the Eagles that just ends up popping off, and he seems like the guy who's going to get the beneficiary of just being that fifth, sixth, seventh pass rusher. That's what they do in Philly. I went with the other guy in the NFC East, the obvious pick, the bendiest player I've seen in years, Abdul Carter. He's going to rack up a ton of sacks. I think there's realistically a good possibility that we see a corner kind of mess around, kind of maybe potentially get this award. But at the end of the day, Carter's just going to get some free shots at the quarterback and really rack up those counting stats. He feels like the easy, most likely winner of any of these awards, in my opinion. Offensive Rookie of the Year.
If Harbaugh ends as coach of the year, it is because our boy Amarion Hampton ends as like RB5 or higher on the season. Everyone's, is thinking Ashton Genty, right? He's got the best avenue to do so. He's going to get a ton of work. Amarion's got a much better offensive line, and this guy with a little bit of space can just truck dudes for an easy 15, 20-yard gain time after time after time, and that gets Harbaugh hard. Like he's just getting so many touches, it's going to be unreal.
Yeah, Hampton really feels like a Harbaugh guy through and through. I don't want to put our guy on here, though. I'm not the biggest Omarion fan. I think that realistically, we're going to see a lot of Najee early on. And then Slater going down for the year. Rashawn Slater, the left tackle. I think that's just kind of brutal. So just putting that out there for future portions of the
You're letting
season,
your Najee love cloud your judgment. Najee is a
possibly.
thing of the past. He tried to blow up his own eyeball with a firework.
Four straight 1,000 yard seasons, James. You can't get mad about that. Not a lot of guys do that. I went with the easy pick, Ashton Jeanty. I mean, a transcendent player. You don't just casually get over 2,000 rushing yards without being amazing. And the pros, there's been a few scat backs in the past. Your thicker boys, your Andre Williams of Boston College, who have done it before in college, but Ashton Jeanty did it. He looked the part, and I think he got all the opportunities coming his way to be able to get to 1,000 yard rookie season. It's gonna be really fun.
So I just want
Next,
to let you know, Najee's yard per carry has always been 4 at the peak. The dude is just a volume merchant.
yeah,
He is
and
not
if
anything
that
crazy.
and if 4.0 was his GPA, you'd be calling him a genius. So like, I don't see any problems here, James. You just need to leave him alone, let him do his thing. Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I would. It's just another theme is like, okay, the Niners are always like either they're in the Super Bowl or playoffs. Well, they just missed the playoffs because of all the injuries. This team gets healthy and comes back on a vengeance. I like Nick Bosa to step up and just get a ton of sacks. Take this team back into the playoffs this year, and I'll have the 49ers later as my NFC West team.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance you could double dip with Nick Bosa for Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year because he also got hurt last year. And that's kind of what I did with this position. I was just like, I think Aiden Hutchinson is not only going to be the Comeback Player of the Year, I think he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year because I think he's going to lead the league in sacks. I think that's just where this is taking us. And also, same thing too, where it's like storyline could work really well. That Niners defense was super beat up last year. That Lions defense was super beat up. If they are both improved units, they're going to get a lot of credit for the overall team success. I think that they're very good odds to win it, which would be Nick Bosa's second, which would be very impressive for his Hall of Fame case down the road. Offensive Player of the Year up next.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I do know how this guy didn't get it, but one of the seasons we've ever. That lose you, Mac. Fix your net, man. Are we good?
Yeah, we're great.
Okay. Sorry, you froze up, so I'm like this guy. I don't know. Buy an Ethernet cable. I don't know what your issue is. I like Jamar Chase. Spencer and I have been super hyped on Jamar. I mean, the only receiver to put up what 450 points last year was something unreal. I think he just got overshadowed by Saquon potentially getting 2,000 yards. I think he's going to get the love he deserves this year. Another big season. A team that, as you've said, their defense is getting worse. So that means that offense is going to have to step it up even more. And Jamar is the guy to benefit from that.
Yeah, no, I think there's a pretty decent opportunity that we ultimately see a 2,000-yard receiving season out of Jamar Chase, especially if we just keep seeing T. Higgins get hurt. That's been a theme. There's just no avoiding it at this point. So yeah, I think Joe Burrow's just gonna have to launch that thing to him over and over and over. I'm seeing big things coming up for our boy Bijan Robinson this upcoming season. It feels like this is a logical transition from, hey, he's been pretty dang good to like this is the year he really takes off. I think he's going to get a lot of credit if the Falcons play super well, which I think they are. I could see a kind of Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry season from last year out of Bijan, and I think if that happens and he drags them to an NFC South division championship, I think it's very likely that we see Bijan be the offensive player of the year for this upcoming season. And then
Very
lastly,
possible.
MVP.
Again, just run with the theme, but Justin Herbert, right? He's gonna have to be the MVP if Jim Harbaugh's gonna be the coach of the year. If this team gets a ton of wins, that's how it's going to happen. I just like to throw in someone new. It might end up just being the same old names in here, but Herbert has a path to being that guy.
You're big on the Chargers, man. It's funny because I feel like in previous years I've been high on the Chargers, thought that they were better than they actually were, and then they lost like 63-7 against the Raiders. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Granted, that was Staley and everything, but it's like, sheesh, that's tough. I got Lamar this upcoming year. Not a hot take by any means. Finished second this past season. I think this year they're like, hey, we kind of did you dirty last year by giving you first team all pro, but not actually getting MVP. I think that they're kind of going to rectify it a little bit with overall storylines and just voters trying to be like, here, damn, people have been talking all offseason long about how you actually deserved it. And this would be his third MVP and really solidify his Hall of Fame case. So be pretty dang neat from the Ravens
Do,
quarterback.
do you have to win playoff games to be an MVP or sorry to be a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, it's tough whenever you start looking at Lamar's like playoff wins list, and it's like you keep scrolling expecting it to be a little longer, but it's pretty dang short. The quarterbacks that he's defeated in one-on-one duels is actually surprisingly small. So hopefully Andrews just holds on to the damn ball this year, and we'll all be happy. So we'll see what
The
happens.
the Bills immediately still score. They're not winning that game.
Probably. Speaking of which, we're getting into division winners. We don't have a ton of time. We're going to go division by division on the AFC side, wild cards, and the NFC side, and wild cards for the NFC side as well. Who you got in the AFC East?
No debate here. It's the Bills. Just
Just go solo on the mic, James. What are you scared of? It's like Davy Jones says. You scared to get wet, James? You scared to go solo on the mic? No problem, man. Just keep chatting, keep talking. I also got the Bills here. I think that there's some upstart potential from the Patriots. Spoiler alert, they're one of my wild cards. But yeah, this is the Bills through and through. Their roster is dominating at this point. AFC North.
I like that Zach Taylor is taking the preseason serious this year because this team's biggest hark is always they start like 1-3 and are like playing catch up the whole season. And they're you can tell the whole team is like, no, we need to start with 3 wins and are like we are not slow starting again. I like to see that from them. I like the shot of the Bengals just kind of taking a step here in this division.
Yeah, people were getting mad at the Bengals for like putting Burrow out there for the preseason, but it's like exactly like you're saying, no slow starts this year. Like throw him into the fire. If he's got to run around a little bit, the offensive line is not trying too hard yet. That's how you start figuring out who doesn't need to be on the roster anymore. You just get Burrow some regular season reps and get him ready to go for week one. I like it. I had the Bengals as my very first wild card team. I think that Zach Taylor and the boys can still make some noise in the AFC North, but I got the Ravens. It's the logical choice. They just keep casually adding Hall of Famers, James. They added DeAndre Hopkins and Jair Alexander onto their roster on an
Bro,
already excellent roster last year.
Hopkins is such a nothing burger. That's like 4 catches for 60 yards on the whole season.
The Ravens are good at getting last second production out of receivers. Think Anquan Bolden, think Steve Smith Sr. I think that DeAndre Hopkins could have a very fun, underrated real life season rather than fantasy. Alrighty, next up, AFC South.
Texans, every other teams. Maybe the Jaguars do something, but that division sucks ass.
Yeah, the Colts just announced that Danny Dimes is going to be the starter. Literally just saying that for historian reasons. One day someone's going to listen to this episode. It's like, really? Danny Dimes? And I just want to put that out there. But yeah, Texans through and through. AFC West.
Yeah, again, brain says Chiefs, but I want the Chargers to win this division. I think there's an avenue. I think the Broncos could make a pretty tough run here as well, but let's mix it up. I'm just going Chargers.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I just don't really see it out of the Chargers this year. I think that they're going to be a very 500 team, as do I think the Broncos and the Raiders. I think they're all just going to barely miss out.
I think they're
Got the
going to kind of
Chiefs.
cannibalize each other, and the Chiefs just waltz right in.
Yeah, I mean that's been the story for the Chiefs the last, 8, 9 years ever since they got Mahomes. So they've just been dominating like that. So I got the Chiefs as the AFC West champion. I already said my wild cards go Bengals. I got the Steelers still. I think Rodgers is going to actually make them a little bit more competent than a lot of people are thinking. And then I got the Patriots. I love the Drake May progression. I think he was so much better in the second half of that season than the first half once he actually was let loose a little bit and actually playing, not Jacoby Brissett. And yeah, I think overall, I mean, you can say it better than me. I think the roster is just progressing in the right direction right now.
Yeah, Ravens, Chiefs, Pats for me. It's like Ravens, Bengals. I think are just right there, close. I think again the Chiefs probably won their division, but I just wanted to mix it up a little bit. To your point, man, the best thing that Gerard Mayo did was not play Drake May early because we would have probably won 3 or 4 more games and not gotten Campbell. So tip your cap to him. But also the worst thing was not letting Drake just get reps. By the end of the season, though, man, was he zipping that ball around. We were losing close games, tough battles. Give me a good quarterback with one Josh McDaniels, and I like our chances on offense. We look better, and that defense is just, I mean, geared up and ready to hold teams to 5 points a game.
Yeah, I agreed. I think it's gonna be a really fun Patriots here. So I'm actually looking forward to watching them play as long as we get some good wide receiver reps out of your boys. NFC East.
I tend to believe in this curse, but this Eagles team is just so good that the Eagles actually finally go back to back. But I don't disagree that the NFC East just rotates constantly.
Yeah, it's just the way it works, it seems. And I think a lot of people are going to remember why they didn't like Nick Sirianni for a while there until he won a Super Bowl. I got the Cowboys here. I think that there's just no way they were as bad as they were last year. And I think Dak reminds some people of like how decent of a quarterback he is in his age 32 year. NFC North.
I think the Lions until someone dethrones them. I still like the team. They did have the brain drain, but Dan Campbell's still there. A lot of very good offensive talent and then healthy defensive talent.
Yeah, the brain drain's terrifying me for the Lions. I think the offensive line is worse, and the inverse is so true for the Packers. They've kept all their top coaches, including LaFleur, who I think is the best quarterback in the NFC North, which is honestly a tough competition. And that offensive line is so good, man. They kept everybody. They invested millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into that offensive line to keep it intact. Jacobs, Love, they're gonna feast in that backfield, I feel like. So I actually have the Packers winning the division this year.
Isn't it crazy how scary the Pack are when they're not relying on Bakhtiari being healthy? Year in and year out, they're just like, oh no, our offense is just healthy. We're not wasting $25 million on a guy to play 2 quarters a season.
That's the only reason the Lions got a chance, and I miss it. Go waste some money on guys who can't play. That's awesome. I miss that. Take me back. NFC South.
Until someone else takes it, bucks. But I mean, to your point, I think Bijan could have a hell of a season and really take that Falcons team. It's just Penix is so improved, and he didn't really show anything last year. We are like, hell yeah, this guy's gonna launch this team.
Yeah, this is a vote in confidence on me to have the Falcons here because I think Penix is that good. I think that he is not just a meme. I think Bijan Robinson is also going to take a huge step forward. It's really hard not to pick the Bucks though, because Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea are such an awesome defensive lineman duo. I think that team can really feast once again.
They've got like 4 really good receivers as long as McMillan's okay.
Exactly. These NFC division winners are really tough. Who you got on the West side?
I think the 49ers, I see a good bounce back here. If McCaffrey stays healthy, Bosa stays healthy, they still have Trent Williams. Like they've got great coaches. They brought back Solid, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, that's a scary team to face.
Yeah, they're like third analyst on the defensive side is better than most people's head coaches. It's kind of crazy how they just rack them up like that. I have the Cardinals this year, as I kind of alluded to earlier. I think Kyler Murray finally puts together a pretty fun season, and the schedule is pretty favorable all throughout the year. So I think that gives them a chance. I got the Niners in my last wild card spot for all the reasons that you mentioned. And Brock Purdy is good enough to continue to win, 10, 11 games for them year in, year out as long as the rest of his weapons stay relatively healthy. And I have the Lions and Vikings filling out my other wild card spots because I think the coaching is just so good for the Vikings that they can drag JJ McCarthy to a good wild card spot.
Packers again, it's coaching staff, it's healthy young players. Rams, it's coaching staff. However, if Stafford's not playing, this one gets real dicey real quick. Commanders, I just there's still a lot of excitement around that team. I think there's beatable teams in the NFC East, and I don't share the same love on the Cowboys as you do. I don't see how the Eagles fall out, and like that's who you have falling out. I don't see how the Commanders fall out. You have them falling out. I think the NFC North beats each other up too much this year to have another three-peat type playoff, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I think the talent level, roster wise and coaching wise, is just so high in the NFC North. And the Super Bowl hangover, I think, is to be pretty real. That was a long season for the Eagles. There were multiple stretches where they were getting really beat up, especially on that offensive line. They don't really have the depth there that I think they realistically need. So I dropped them out. James, if you're good with it, let's leave something tantalizing for next week. Let's leave the conference championship game, Super Bowl predictions to next week after we talk tight ends, and let's get to our viewer fan question if you're good with that.
Oh, it's good. Keep the people guessing.
Exactly. They never know what's coming. So, got a fan question from my buddy Jake. Shout out, Jake. He has a multi-part question here, so bear with me as I explain. He said that an opposing team has put Bijan Robinson on the trade block. His opponent is interested in T. Higgins, which is on his roster. He wants a good first rounder, the opponent does, but Jake only has 106 and 110 in the first round. There is a third team, a second shooter, if you will, that has 103, a much better first round pick. And for that 103, they want from Jake, Lad McConkey, or T. Higgins. So Jake's ultimate question is he thinks that he can get 103, um, get Omari and Hampton at 103. So does he just take Omari and Hampton, or does he trade 103 and 110 for Bijan?
I don't see how you're getting Omarion at 103. That's the confusing part of this all. Like that you're relying heavily on that. Regardless, Bijan is a young, bona fide stud dog running back that will get 20 plus touches a game. We're hoping Omarion Hampton becomes something like Bijan. You do everything in your power to make some voodoo magic happen here. If it's a three-way trade, a four-way trade, I don't care. You make Bijan be the guy landing on your roster, and you let the other two guys figure out what the hell they want. But Bijan's the target; he's the prize possession. Otherwise, just like sure, try to get Lad, try to get Amar. Like if this guy's willing to trade you anything for T Higgins, like I'm not a big T guy. He's just too unpredictable in what he's going to do. He's upside guy. I'm gonna go get Bijan. Like I want the predictability of Bijan and his touches. I don't want the second option when the second option is behind one Mar Chase who is going to feast every week.
Yeah. And looking at his roster, my immediate thought was, hey, he thinks at 103 you can get Omarion because maybe there's like a two quarterback league going on, a super flex of some sort. So maybe Cam Ward's going in that 102, or maybe Travis Hunter's going there, but it's a one quarterback league. So yeah, it feels like Omarion's probably going to go 102. So if your opponent still sees value in that 103, I'd rather trade it. And we actually have an update. Jake texted me today. He did exactly what we're thinking. He traded for the 103, and now he's offering 103 and 106 for Bijan. I think you're 100% right that it's Bijan Robinson no matter what, and you just go and get that bona fide star. Do you think it's
I mean,
worth doing the 103 and 106 for Bijan?
yes, dude, I couldn't trade that fast enough. There's no rookie this year that I love like you would ever love Bijan outside of like Gene T.
Yeah.
And I don't think at 103 you're getting a Marion. You're like, you're this guy's like, oh, I guess maybe I'll take Tet and yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like. There's
Gross.
no shot. There's no shot you're getting this. So I didn't prefer having the 103 and the 106 over T Higgins.
Yeah.
It's like I think that works, but I don't know if he this guy's. I would love to find out if he gets a Marion at 103. In which case, it's like sure you made the best of an okay situation. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think most drafts he's already gone. So yeah, I think we're in agreement. Go get Bijan. 103 and 106 is worth it.